why he's got a boot on it.
Great to be here this evening, and thanks for all of you for joining us to the inaugural Badin High School Hall of Honor. My name is Dirk Allen. I'm the Admissions and Media Relations Director at Badin, and tonight we are proud to recognize 7 outstanding graduates and friends who exemplify the mission of Badin High School: to inspire others to achieve their personal best, live their faith, and lead the future. The Hall of Honor was created to recognize the outstanding contributions Badin alumni, friends, and faculty are making at Badin, in our community, and in our world. Proceeds from tonight's event will support the Badin Tuition Assistance Fund that provides much-needed financial assistance and scholarships for Badin students. We are thrilled to announce that because of your generous support, the Hall of Honor will generate more than $12,000 in tuition assistance for Badin students. At this time, we'd like to recognize tonight's sponsors. The legacy sponsors are the Thunderdome Restaurant Group, Currito, Bakersfield, So High, and the Eagle. Matandi, a steel services company, and its subsidiaries, Lynn, Rose, and Lamp. Our gold sponsors, Kirsch CPA Group. The Sisters of Notre Dame de Namur. Milliken and Fitton. Our silver sponsors, the Notre Dame Alumni Association. Fearer and Fritsch, attorneys at law. Realty First. The Malone family, we all know them. And bronze sponsor, St. Peter and Chains. Several other event sponsors we'd like to acknowledge and thank. Miller Coors, the cocktail reception, Noonan's for the table wine, Prestige Audio Visual for the AV services, and Bethart Printing for the commemorative program. And special thanks to TV Hamilton for taping tonight's ceremony. Steve, great to have you here. Thanks. At this time, I'd like to invite Father Tim Bunch, to the podium to lead us in the invocation.
Let us pray. Lord God, as we gather this evening to celebrate the rich legacy of Stephen T. Badin High School, we thank you first and foremost for the many blessings that you shower upon us in your love and wisdom. We are especially grateful tonight for the accomplishments and witness of our inductees, Sister Joanne Depweg, Dr. Daniel Fear, Frank Fearman, John Lanny, Josephine Osso, Joe D'Angelo, and Terry Malone. We pray that their generosity, witness, and contributions will continue to bear much fruit in this community and beyond. Bless now the food we are about to share, and may it be a sign of the many gifts that you lavish upon us. Bless those who have prepared it, and bless those who will serve it. Through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Earlier I mentioned that the Hall of Honor supports much needed tuition assistance for Badin students. More than 30% of our students receive financial aid in the form of tuition grants and our work-study program. Each year we award more than $400,000 in tuition assistance and scholarships, all of which is supported by contributions from alumni and friends of Badin. Tonight we'd like to introduce you to 2 students who have benefited from your support. I'd like to welcome to the podium sophomore Miss Gabby Hogan, and Senior, Mr. Zach Keene.
Hi, I'm Gabby Hogan. I'm a sophomore at Badin, and I'm honored to be here tonight. I would like to say that I'm in multiple clubs and part of the ambassador program at Badin. I also play softball. I would like to thank you all for the continuing support of Badin High School. Your support has led to wonderful opportunities for both myself, my friends, and my family. With the tuition assistance, I was able to grow in my faith and make a difference both inside and outside of the Badin community. I am so thankful for the wonderful opportunities that Badin has been able to offer to me. Attending Badin High School is very important to me. All of my family went there, and without Badin, I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't be here thanking you all for the wonderful opportunity you've given me. I wouldn't be able to practice my faith and put it into action both in and out of the community. I wouldn't be part of the Badin family, which means more to me than anything else. I would like to thank you all once again and hope you enjoy your evening.
Hi, I'm Zach Keene, and I'm a senior here at Badin High School. I'm a varsity basketball and baseball player. I transferred from Hamilton High to here in the middle of my junior year. I would have never had the opportunity to attend Badin High School without the generous donations to our scholarship funds. Badin High School has changed me in a way that I can never pay back. I have reconnected with old friends, made new friends, and matured emotionally, physically, and spiritually. I can honestly say Badin has changed my life forever. I hope many other students can get the same amount of financial help as I did and get the great experience of Badin High School. Thank you all for all the support you give to Badin.
Thank you, Gabby and Zach. Zach has been a tremendous addition to the Badin High School family since he came over, and we're very pleased to have him. And today, Gabby Hogan was named the Sophomore Student of the Month for the month of September. Gabby and Zach, along with countless other students, wouldn't be able to attend Badin without your continued support. And I know all of our students thank you, and all of us thank you as well. Now it's my pleasure to introduce the principal of Badin High School, a 1990 graduate of Badin, Mr. Brian Pendergast.
Good evening and welcome to Badin High School's Hall of Honor dinner. We appreciate you joining us tonight for this celebration as we recognize the accomplishments of these inductees. The Hall of Honor was created, as Dirk said, to recognize the outstanding achievements of our graduates, faculty, staff, and members of the Badin community. These individuals represent the mission we have at Badin High School, to inspire young men and women to achieve their best, live the faith, and to lead the future. The inductees we are celebrating tonight have definitely achieved great accomplishments, have lived their faith, and are leaders in the community. This event is a terrific opportunity to see firsthand the impact of the members of the Badin community in our local society. We are blessed to have these individuals as part of our Badin family. This afternoon, we had the privilege of recognizing our inductees at an all-school assembly. We wanted our students to see firsthand the opportunities that they have in front of them and the positive impact that graduates of Hamilton Catholic, Notre Dame, and Badin have made and continue to make in hopes that they would be inspired to do the same. We are glad to have that opportunity to recognize them in front of our student body. Badin has a long-standing history of many graduates who have gone on to be difference makers in society. 2 years ago at Badin, we embarked on a strategic planning process to take a look at where we've been as a school, where we currently were, and where we wanted to be moving forward. As part of this process, we developed a new vision and mission for Badin High School. But in reality, we only changed the words of the mission and vision to reflect what has been happening at Hamilton Catholic, Notre Dame, and Badin from the very beginning. Our vision for Badin High School is to be the model for all Catholic high schools as we profoundly shape the way students think, achieve, serve, and lead. Our vision is the guide that challenges us each day to live out our mission. which was stated as, in an enriching and an innovative college preparatory environment rooted in the Catholic faith, Stephen T. Badin High School inspires young men and women to achieve their personal best, live their faith, and lead the future. As you can see by the inductees tonight that we are honoring, this has been our mission and vision for many, many years. With the new mission and vision as our focus, the school board, the administration, the faculty, and staff developed a strategic plan to guide us as we put this plan into action. As a Catholic school, our faith is always at the center of everything we do. Providing an excellent academic program is our #1 priority of a strategic plan. We have committed to enhancing our academic program to meet the needs of all learners. There are many components to our strategic plan. Each one will help us to live out our vision and our mission. We are blessed to have so many people who volunteer their time to help make Badin High School a tremendous place. Our school board members are a perfect example of this. Up until July of this year, they were an advisory board. Starting in July, though, this group became a limited board of jurisdiction and took on additional responsibilities for Badin High School, and were willing to do so because they believe in what we're doing. Thank you all all of the school board members, which Ed Larkin will introduce later, for your time and dedication to Badin High School. It's a pleasure to work with each and every one of you, and we appreciate the expertise that you bring to the table. A school is only as good as the people that are in it. We have a terrific faculty and staff at Badin High School. They do a tremendous job day in and day out, helping our students achieve their personal best. It is my privilege to work with each and every one of them. Would the members of the faculty and staff who are with us here tonight please stand to be recognized? Thank you for all you do for our students. The reality is, though, that our staff is able to do the job they do because of the fabulous students that we have. You saw 2 great examples up here just a few minutes ago in Gabby and Zach. The students at Badin High School are outstanding, and they make our jobs enjoyable. Having the opportunity to work with our kids is a blessing each day. We look forward to watching what they can do and achieve their personal best as they live their personal best, live the faith, and lead the future. The successes of Badin High School that are currently happening are a direct result of the foundation that was established many years ago by the past teachers and previous leaders of Hamilton Catholic, Notre Dame, and Badin. We'd like to recognize the previous principals who are here with us tonight, Brother Don Neff, former principal of Hamilton Catholic, and Mr. Frank Margello, former Badin High School principal. We appreciate both of you being here with us tonight. Hopefully you enjoy this evening. We're very excited about the presentations tonight. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Ed Larkin, School Board President.
How about the job Gabby and Zach did earlier? I tried to make them feel at ease, but they did so well they got me a little nervous. I'm Ed Larkin, and I'm fortunate to serve as the chairman of the board of directors for Badin High School. As Brian mentioned, we transitioned from an advisory board to a board of limited jurisdiction with the support of the Archdiocese of Cincinnati, and also through the years with the support of Frank Margello's administration and also Brian's administration, we've been able to, I think, accomplish a lot of very good things. Would all members of the board who are present here this evening please stand up? Stay standing and join me in congratulating tonight's honorees, please. Fantastic. If you haven't been to Badin recently, I'd ask you to be a part of it, and please go and observe, not just to a game, but really go observe the school, because everyone here this evening has contributed in some way to the past of Badin. Whether you are a Hamilton Catholic alumni, a Notre Dame Academy alumni, Badin alumni, friend, or just supporter, it's really important for you to get involved. Everything has a past, everything. People, objects, schools, everything has a past. And if you don't know the past, you can't understand the present, and you can't properly plan for the future. So I invite all of you to please go see a part of Badin and go see what is really going on there. It's really impressive. It's important to recognize the outstanding contributions of Badin graduates and members of the Badin family that give back to their communities and to Badin. Tonight's honorees serve as a positive role model for our students. And as I make that statement, they don't serve as a positive role model to just our students. I think back and they actually serve as a positive role model to me and hopefully to all of you, because we continue, no matter how old we are, to contribute to our communities and to the young, to the old, to everyone involved. So it's very important to us to recognize them and to honor us. The Hall of Honor sets expectations that we all can do great things and should achieve and strive to do that. It was funny, when I was leaving this evening, we talked about the assembly, and my son, who's a junior, walked in the house and he said, he saw me in a suit and tie, and he says, "You going to that Badin thing tonight?" I said, "Yeah, I actually am." He goes, "Yeah, we had an assembly about that. There's actually some really cool people who are going to be there tonight." So you do have effect on some of the young. Now, my next line was, "Hey, do you want to go with me?" And he's like, "I'm good." So I challenge you to remember that your past does not define you. It does not deter you. It definitely doesn't defeat you. It strengthens you. And all of you honorees tonight, you all strengthen Badin, and I thank you.
Thanks very much, Brian and Ed, and thanks for all that you do for Badin High School. You know, we have a few people here that I'd like to recognize and thank for being here tonight. I know she's already said once, but from the City of Hamilton, council members Kathy Klink and Carla Fear are here tonight. Thanks for being here. Representing the Hamilton City School Board, great to have this connection, Steve Isgro. Steve, thank you for being here tonight. And I know from the City of Hamilton, Brandon Sarber is here. Great to have him here. And Badin graduate, Brandon. And Joshua Smith, the city manager, was here. Pleased to see him. He had another engagement, but great to have Joshua Smith here tonight. Now let's induct the inaugural class of the Badin High School Hall of Honor. Our first award of the evening is a very special award, the Lifetime Achievement Award. This award was created for members of the Badin family who make extraordinary contributions to Badin High School, the community, or our world. The first recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Award, who could be more deserving than Mr. Terry Malone. And here to introduce him is his son, the man who quarterbacked Badin into its first ever appearance in the state championship in football in 1978, John Malone.
Dirk, I wish you wouldn't have mentioned that. He still yells at me for throwing 3 interceptions in that game. First of all, I'd like to welcome everyone that's attending tonight, and I want to thank you for your support. Dirk mentioned $12,000 being raised through tonight's dinner, and that's pretty impressive. I also was really impressed with Zach and Gabby. Are they still here? Zach, you don't even know me, but you and me and your uncle were inseparable for about 10 years. We played football, baseball, and basketball together at St. Anne's and Badin. And Gabby, I actually taught a couple years ago in junior achievement at St. Joe's. And she's a gorgeous young lady, and as you guys could tell, as a sophomore standing up here, she's impressive, and that's the kind of students we want to have at Badin, and is exemplary with what we'd like to have in the future. So congratulations to you two. I know I wanted to also thank, from the Malone family, the honorees tonight. Congratulate you, but more importantly, thank you for your contributions to the Badin, the Hamilton Catholic community. And honestly, I read some of the bios for the first time just now, and some of you are unbelievably impressive. My sister Therese goes, "John, can you believe Dad's up there in this lineup with all these people?" And I know my dad was raving about Sister Johanna and also Dan Fair. I guess I should say Mr. Fair. And but anyway, there are some impressive people being honored tonight, and I thank you, and our family thanks you for your contributions. I'm here tonight to introduce my dad, Terry Malone, who was also a coach of mine and a teacher of mine, but more importantly is my dad. Our entire family was really proud and happy when we heard that he was winning this award. And he's won of a lot of awards over the years, and I think this is kind of the culmination of all the awards he's won. And I know that he's very grateful for this also. So I think one thing about my dad is he's known by a lot of people as a football coach, and he certainly had an esteemed career as a coach. I have I'm going to list off a bunch of awards he won. I actually forgot to put in here that he was the winningest coach in the history of Ohio high school football. So, but over the years, he won many awards, and I'm not even going to put the year because a lot of these awards he won multiple times. But for example, he was the Greater Catholic League Coach of the Year several times, the Cincinnati Enquirer Coach of the Year, the Channel 5 Coach of the Year, the Golden Triangle Coach of the Year, the Butler County Coach of the Year, the Ohio High School Coach of the Year. So he's won a lot of different awards multiple times. He also has been recognized in a lot of different Hall of Fames, and one of them is the Ohio High School Football Coaches Association, where he's a member of that. He also is in the Buddy LaRosa Sports Hall of Fame, which is a pretty prestigious one in Greater Cincinnati. He's in the Butler County Hall of Fame. He has a permanent plaque in the north end of the end zone at Ohio State Stadium. So if anybody ever goes to a game, he's up there in the north end of the stadium. He also coached the the South team in the North-South Ohio All-Star game several years ago. And then he's also, and I think probably this is the Hall of Fame he's most proud of, he's a member of the Badin Hall of Fame, Athletic Hall of Fame. In addition to that, just some of the other recognitions he's gotten. The Ohio High School Football Coaches Association has given him the Lifetime Achievement Award. That was in 2001. The Archdiocese of Cincinnati gave him the Certificate of Recognition for 40 years plus service. He was the Hamilton Citizen of the Year in 1980. He also had a proclamation by the Office of the Hamilton Mayor in October of 2003 as Coach Terry Malone Day. He was also recognized by the Ohio Ohio House of Representatives in 2003, and then also an award that I know he cherishes because of what Coach Basevich represented as a coach and a man. He won the Braun Basevich Award one time. So he's won a lot of awards. He's in a lot of Hall of Fames. But the one thing I would say about him is when he graduated from Hamilton Catholic, he had scholarship offers from Indiana University, the University of Dayton, John Carroll, Cornell University. That's kind of hard to believe, an Ivy League school. A kid from East Hamilton, and an appointment to West Point. So I beat him. I got an appointment to West Point and Navy. Anyway, but at the end of the day, he chose to go to Xavier University because he wanted to stay closer to home. And at Xavier, he played 4 years there on a football scholarship. His senior year, he was All-Irish Academic All-American team, and he graduated cum laude from Xavier University. So he likes to act like he's this hillbilly from East Hamilton, but he's actually pretty smart. So I started earlier by saying a lot of people look at him and think of him as a football coach, but the one thing I'll say is I have a lot of female graduates from Badin High School that come up to me all the time and say, oh, I loved your dad, he was my favorite teacher, or I loved him as a vice principal, etc. And what that tells me is, you know, that transcends athletics, football, coaching, and that's really more about what he did as a teacher and an administrator. And I think some of you probably know this story, but actually when he graduated from Xavier, he really didn't intend to coach. He wanted to be a teacher, and he wanted to teach in a Catholic school and really dedicate service to the Catholic Church. But he was offered a job at North College Hill and actually accepted the job. And I think the salary was $1,800. And when he told me that, I said, a week? But it was actually a year. But what happened is at the last moment, Hamilton Catholic had a job that came open for $1,500. You know that's less than 18, right? and he chose the job at Hamilton Catholic. However, there was a caveat. In order to get the job, they told him he had to coach football and basketball as an assistant coach. So he accepted the job, and that's really how his coaching career started. So that's sort of a little bit of background on how he got into coaching. The one thing that I would be remiss if I did not mention, because honestly, I think this is probably some of the service that he considers the most important thing he's done, is over the last 60 years, the things he's done for the St. Anne's community. And during those 60 years, he's really dedicated his life to St. Anne's. And I was just joking with him. I said, hey, I was born and grew up in Lindenwold. You were from East Hamilton. You had to buy your way in. But anyway, during those 60 years, he was a lector, an usher, a CCD teacher. He was a member of parish council, which didn't help me a lot when I was at school and got in trouble, but, and he was a member of the enrollment committee. So he was involved in a lot of different things, and actually still is today at St. Anne's. He also, little known fact, he played Santa Claus for many years at the Boys Girls Club of Hamilton. So he really did reach out beyond even what I call the Catholic community of St. Anne's, Hamilton Catholic, and Badin to the rest of Hamilton. Bill and Joe, you're not going to want to hear this, but last week I said, Dad, I called him about 3 o'clock Friday. You want to go to the Fenwick game with me? He goes, no, it's going to be a blowout. I'm going over to see Hamilton High play. So he's still, I don't think he meant what was going to happen. He thought it was going to be the other way. But the point is, he's still a big supporter of even Hamilton High. So he's definitely a Hamilton boy. He spent his whole life here and dedicated his whole life to the city, and particularly St. Anne's and Hamilton Catholic and Badin. So the one thing that brings me to there's a Latin phrase, and Bernie will probably yell at me if I mispronounce this, but it's fortitudine vincimus, and that basically means strength, or by endurance we conquer. And I know there are a lot of people in here who played football for him, and I think that really kind of represents his life. He grew up in the Depression in East Hamilton, and he became very successful at the high school in our town. And as a result of that, I think that as a family, we're profoundly proud of him and thankful. And he and my mom raised 10 kids. We all went to St. Anne's and Badin. And to us, his dedication to the family is really what stands out. My dad, for many, many years, would go to Badin at 6:30 in the morning. In the fall after football, he'd go out for another hour, hour and a half. Dean will probably say he did most of the work, but he went out and taught driver's training. So he was constantly working. We all know teachers don't make a lot of money, but he made a big sacrifice to raise us 10 kids and give us everything we needed to be successful. So once again, we're very proud and thankful. So at this time, what I'd like to do is introduce my dad, our dad, Terry Malone.
Knees are shot. Too many years on the sideline and walking up that hill at Badin. But after that, I forgot everything I was going to say, and he kind of stole a half what I was going to say. But when I was at Xavier, I decided I didn't want to be a coach. I had no interest in being a coach. And that goes back to my freshman year in high school when we were invited up to the Paramount Theater one time, Hamilton High and Hamilton Catholic, to see a movie, a football movie. And the coaches of each school came up, and they were introduced. And when they introduced the Hamilton High coach, everybody applauded. But when they introduced our coach, he was booed because they'd had a bad year the season before. And I thought right then and there, I'm never going to be a coach. So anyway, when I went to college, that was my intention. And then I got a teaching job at North College Hill and signed a contract and was ready to go in September. But in the last week of June, when the brother Gaudette from Hamilton Catholic called me up and he said, Terry, we have a teaching and a coaching job available. And, I told him I'm not interested in coaching. He said, well, why don't you come up tomorrow and talk to me? So I went up and we talked, and he said, your duties would be, you'd be teaching American history, English, and phys ed. I was certified in history and English. And I would be assistant coach in football and basketball. Well, North College Hill, all I had to teach was history, and I would do no coaching, and I would get paid more. There, he was wrong on the salaries. There, I would have got $3,600. At Catholic High, I started out at $3,200. But anyway, I went home and thought it over, and I thought, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I talked it over with my wife, and I said, I'm going to coach 2 years, and I'm going to get football out of my system, and then I'll go into the public school where you can make some money. And so I coached those 2 years. Now, probably the worst thing that ever happened to me, the first year we went 5-4. And then the second year, we were undefeated. And that got in my blood. I said, man, this winning is fun. So I continued on. But the way I got the job is I was an assistant coach, and we were playing a basketball game, Middletown Fenwick, over at Wilson Gym. And I was sitting next to the scores table, and our head coach was next to me. And then their coach was sitting next to the score table on that side. It was a heated game. There was a lot of elbowing and shoving going on. And our two coaches were kind of going back and forth, mouthing each other, and say, hey, get your kids under control and so on. So finally, their coach, one of our kids, their player stole the ball, and he went in to make a layup, and one of our kids laid him out. And their coach stood up, and he looked over at our coach, and pardon the language, but he said, hey, you SB, he said, get your kids under control. Well, our coach never heard him. And like a big dumb, this is my first year, I'm naive, and I hit him, and I said, did you hear that, Carl? He called you an SB. I never thought he was going to do this. He got up, walked over there, and decked that guy. All hell broke loose. Everybody in the gym, I think even the girls started fighting. And so as a result, he was banned from coaching in Ohio for 5 years. And about 2 weeks later, our principal called me down, and he said, Terry, how would you like to be the head football and head basketball coach next year? So I thought that over, and like I said, well, I'll do it for 2 years, and then I'm going to quit, and I'm going to get in a public school where you can make some money. And but that second year, we had that undefeated team, and that got in your blood. Winning, that's great winning. So I just stayed on, and then I was there for 47 years. But I enjoyed every bit of it. I have a lot of my former players here tonight, and then we can't introduce all of them, but I would like them to stand up. Were the guys that played football for me stand up, all the former players? So I really appreciate you guys being here. And then last, I want to introduce my family. I won't introduce them by name, but I'm going to ask them to stand up. They're not all here. I have some at that other table. And finally, my wife, she had to put up with a lot. I remember when we would lose, I would come home, I'd be in a bad mood, and she didn't make it any better. She said, well, what mistakes did you make tonight? And how come you got beat tonight? And then I had to put up with that besides getting beat. But anyway, then she would encourage me the next day. So I want to thank everybody. This is a great affair. I hope it continues on. I'm sure there's a lot of people in Hamilton that can be recognized. I think this is a great town. I have chances to leave Badin and Hamilton Catholic. When I was at Hamilton Catholic, I had a chance to go to Pittsburgh Central Catholic. I had a chance to go up to Cathedral Latin, that's a Marinist school. The brothers taught Hamilton Catholic, and they had those schools. I had a chance to go to Elder, but I thought them all over, and I really like living in Hamilton, and my kids were all settled down in school and had friends, so I thought, I like what I'm doing. I could probably make more money, but I like Hamilton, and so I just stayed with it. So thanks a lot. I appreciate being here.
While Terry was telling that story, Eddie Larkin was looking over at his dad, Ed, to see if he could catch his eye, because I guess Ed was at that game that night where that fist fight broke out, apparently, huh? I am not a Badin graduate. I've been at Badin for 14 years now. This is my 14th year. It's been a blessing to be there. The students have energy, so we have energy, and they do a tremendous job. The first time I was ever at Badin, I was at Princeton High School. I was the sports editor of the school newspaper, and we came up to play Badin in a basketball game. And after the game, I got left. So I'm like accidentally at Badin High School, because the team bus, which I had ridden up on, had just pulled away. Some guy said, hey, Dirk went home with a friend. Well, no, he didn't. Dirk's standing in the lobby at Badin High School saying, where'd the bus go? And Terry Malone spent the next 15 minutes trying to buttonhole Badin students to get me a ride back to Princeton High School, and I've never forgotten that. Nobody would take me, but I did appreciate the fact that Terry tried, and as the sports editor sports writer and sports editor of the Journal News from 1979 to 1993, I had the pleasure of covering Coach Malone's teams for those 14 years, and it really was a pleasure, so congratulations, Terry. Here to announce the Stephen T. Badin Legacy Award is Kelly Kurtz, the Executive Director of Institutional Advancement at Badin High School.
The Stephen T. Badin Legacy Award recognizes a member of the Badin family for his or her outstanding contributions to the school and the Badin community in an effort to advance the mission of Badin High School. The first recipient of the Stephen T. Badin Legacy Award will be given posthumously to Josephine Oso. With us tonight representing Josephine is her brother, John. John, give us a wave. Thank you for being here with us tonight. Josephine Oso believed in the power of an education even though she didn't finish grade school. She was the daughter of Italian immigrants and was born in 1914 to Asunda Delegati and Salvatore Oso. She was one of 6 children and willingly accepted her role as caretaker of the family. She was self-educated and will always be remembered as a lunchroom waitress at the YWCA and later in life as a supervisor at the A&P grocery store. Her brothers raised and her family's finances secured, Josephine's frugal lifestyle led her to accumulate her life savings. With no husband or children of her own to support, she sought the help of her brother John in the prudent management of her finances. Her life's dream to help others attain an education became a reality during her lifetime when she created a charitable remainder trust to benefit students wishing to attend Badin High School but lacking the funds to pay tuition. Upon her death in 2004, with her wishes to assist others already established, Josephine's estate provided a $250,000 trust to the Hamilton Community Foundation for the benefit of Badin High School. Proceeds from her trust currently provide much-needed tuition assistance for students at Badin. Here to accept the award on behalf of the Oso family is John Gaduli, President and CEO of the Hamilton Community Foundation.
Thank you for the opportunity to accept this award on behalf of Josephine Oso and the Oso family. This is really a wonderful event this evening for a select group of outstanding individuals in the Badin family. I offer my congratulations to all of tonight's honorees. I was asked to accept this award because Josephine chose to work through the Hamilton Community Foundation when she established her generous support for students at Badin High School. You just heard a little bit about her. She was an intelligent, hardworking woman who put the needs of others before her own needs. She spent much of her life helping others become independent and successful adults. That is certainly worthy of recognition. But beyond that, Josephine used her resources to establish a charitable remainder trust that allows her to continue to help others long after she is gone. This selfless act will benefit deserving students year after year, decade after decade, in perpetuity. Creating a planned gift to support the important work of Badin High School is part of the legacy of Josephine Oso. You know, it is said that a society is truly great when individuals plant trees under whose shade they know they will never sit. And that is exactly what Josephine Oso did. A woman who valued education, but whose life experiences limited her opportunity for formal education, opened the door for countless young people to receive a quality Catholic education at Badin High School. Tonight we thank Josephine Oso for her generosity, for her vision, her selflessness, and we recognize the legacy she created. But mostly, we recognize that Josephine Oso's actions means that her gifts will continue to give, and that she will continue to positively impact students at Badin High School, and that her life and her gifts will live on in the students and in this community that continue to benefit from her generosity. So I accept this award for Josephine and for her family, generous individuals committed to education, committed to student success, and committed to Badin High School. Thank you.
The Father Francis J. Miller Award for Distinguished Faculty and Staff was named after the first principal of Badin High School. Father Miller was a visionary in every sense of the word. He was known to be forthright, a bit eccentric, and brilliant in his approach to serving the students of Badin High School. You know, about 10 years ago, I had the opportunity to interview the late Father Miller at Badin, and we sat for probably an hour and a half talking about this and that. And one of the really interesting things he told me was that Stephen T. Badin was French, and so that his name was probably Badin. And he said, but we weren't going to go to Badin High School. And he said, neither were we going to go to Badin High School, because we didn't want people to be saying that it was a bad school. Even though at Notre Dame, as most of you know, they have Badin Hall up there, and that's where Father Badin is buried. But he said that a deliberate decision was made to call Badin High School with a long A, Badin High School. The first recipient of the Father Francis J. Miller Award is Mr. Joe D'Angelo. Here to introduce Mr. D'Angelo is Badin Marketing Education teacher, Mr. Tim McCabe.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Thank all of you for being here, and all of the honorees, all of the faculty and staff, the administration and guests. I have the distinct honor this evening to introduce the second best marketing teacher in Badin High School history. Usually when I speak, I'm on a clock, and I get the feeling I am again tonight. But they gave me 5 minutes, so I'm going to use it all. Maybe more, just warning. I asked Joe for some help to prepare this introduction, and he said, here, use these. I have 4 of them. It's all the pictures that I have. He told me, he guaranteed me that the hotel has the most up-to-date audio-visual equipment in the city. So, well, that's not going to work. So I said to him, sorry if I'm walking away from that. I said to him, maybe you have something in writing. How about that? You got anything maybe you've written, maybe a bio, whatever you want me to use? He said, sure, use these. He hands me this box. I open it. Yeah, floppy disks. Where in the world am I going to find a computer, maybe at his house, I don't know. Where am I going to find a computer that still uses those? So here I am, stuck. So it dawns on me, you don't want to hear what I have to say about him. That would definitely take longer than 5 minutes, and some of it might not be too good for every ear. But you can read in the bio that Joe's Ohio life, because he's often asked, so what year did you graduate, Badin? And he didn't. He didn't. He's a graduate of White Plains High School, and then Morrisville College he moved on to. And then in the middle of the night, one night is the story I've always heard, he and a couple of frat brothers, maybe not in the best mind or decision-making minds, decided they were going to leave and go to another college. I don't know how they chose Miami University, but I think that's where the dart landed on the map. So there they come to Miami University. Upon completion of his degree, he moved on to student teaching at, hate to say it, Fairfield High School. But he was under excellent tutelage of Mr. Lou Hollinger, who's been a big influence on his teaching career. He accepted a long-term substitute position there for a while and then moved on to Badin. And he's been there for, as Dirk put it today and put a shock in Mr. D's mind, almost half a century. He was taken aback when Dirk said that today. And you can also read in the bio that's in the publication all of the plethora of awards that he's won, and I'm not here to reiterate those. That's not what Joe D'Angelo, the teacher, is about. Joe D'Angelo, the teacher, is about his students. He's not about a certificate or plaque on the wall. He's about his kids. He's honored that the following list of Badin administration, faculty, and staff took one or more of his marketing education classes. The Badin principal, the vice principal, the executive director of institutional advancement, I'm not going to get about their names, school counselor, English teacher, social studies teacher, academic support personnel, administrative assistant, office staff, the director of alumni relations, and the strength and conditioning coach at Badin as well have all been marketing students. That's what makes him proud. That's what honors him. He's honored that he created lifelong memories for his students. He's honored when former students come back to see him and visit. And he's honored of the education that he gave them and the success that they've had. And some of them have already been introduced tonight here. I knew you didn't want to hear it from me, so I reached out to some because I'm not Facebook savvy. I don't have one. They say teachers shouldn't. Not a problem. Because I hear about other people, it's like your life is online. So I reached out to them, including Mary Sue Wright and Aaron Tiernan Waters and Annie Fear. And they sent me some remarks that they received. Larry Gershbach wrote, Joe's first year at Badin, my buddies and I asked him to be the faculty rep for our group, the BAB. Those boys convinced Joe that it stood for Boys and Bibles. Joe gladly accepted it, thinking that Father Miller would, recognize the group and the such. But then Father Miller came up and told him, "Joe, do you know you're supporting the Beer Alley Boys?" Larry says he's never forgiven us. Janifeer remembers her 18th birthday at Pulio's restaurant in New York City on the New York trip when Dee organized a little special dessert for her because it was her 18th birthday. She didn't get one, everybody else had one. She was about to ask the server, "Where's mine?" when he comes out with this special birthday cake with candles on it for her 18th birthday. Just the way he thinks of his kids. Nancy Gleason O'Donohoe wrote how she remembers Mr. D made her a student director in the variety show. Well, it's because Nancy was in love with one of the MCs, Jeff O'Donohoe. And she talked about how D had to wink in his eye. And Nancy is ever grateful because 38 years of marriage later to Jeff, they're still very happy. And speaking of variety show, because that's what she was a student director of, how many of us old school people that are in the audience tonight don't remember being involved in a hootenanny or variety show that Joe produced? And there's, I can tell by Bernie's reaction, there are a lot of stories that could be going around about those practices and stuff, but we won't get into that. But Joe sure remembers. He has an entire box of programs still in his cabinet. And, people think I'm a hoarder. Forget about that. This is, yeah. So, those are what make it important to him, the memories. Mary Sue Wright wrote, quote, "I'm here to see Mr. D," end quote. Mary Sue says, "From my days of working at Badin, I noticed that when alumni returned to school, it was many times to visit Joe. Because of his working on prom, the old variety shows, and his classroom work, everybody knew him. His time at Badin has spanned generations and has given such continuity to the place." He's also very proud of the accomplishments that they have received. Jason Goldberg wrote, "You gave me the first exposure to finance and investing. I can still remember the project where you had us following a couple of stocks. Ironically, I picked a penny stock, which I'm certain went out of business. Who can forget our trip to NYC and the stock exchange? I've been all over the world, and that's still one of my favorite adventures of all time. Great experience. Thanks for helping me and so many people create the building blocks for success. Jason E. Goldberg, CFP, Vice President of Investments." Karen Finan Gregory wrote, "I have to say that my favorite thing about Mr. D is that no matter who it is or how long ago, he always remembers his former student's name." This was probably written a few years ago. Because now I get the nudge. Who is that? Who is it? I don't know. So we're both at that stage. But he always greets them with a hug and an old story about when he had us in class. Benita Tipton wrote, "He believed in his students, and in return, they believed in themselves." Barb Capella wrote, "He affected so many lives over the years, even still today. Joey D, you're a good man." Martin Ivesy wrote, "Joe would do anything for his students." And Marcia Ogden McKay, smart Italian, she married an Irishman, and a former Badin English teacher, "Joe D'Angelo is a good Italian boy, enough said." And what about John Malone picking on those East Hamilton, St. Veronica boys? What about that? We'll meet him in the parking lot, Terry. Aaron Tiernan Water said, older students would say, "Take marketing. You get to go on trips, and it's a piece of cake." Yes, I went on some amazing trips, but the reason it was an easy class is because D makes you feel like you're just hanging out, not learning. So when you went to take a test, you were always shocked that you knew and understood every question. I believe that is a true definition of an educator. Dee is a man that has never met a stranger. Many of us in the room can attest to that. It does not matter if you are in Ohio or out and about across the country. He'll find somebody that he knows, and if he doesn't know him, he'll act like he does. Everyone has that instructor that sticks out when they think of their best educational experience, and Dee is number one. Number one on way to many lists, and for that, he deserves this honor. And lastly, I'll finish with three and then put my own 2 bits in. From Annie Fear, again, a proud graduate that Mr. D and I are both proud of because she is now a marketing teacher in Virginia. And better than us because she has like 12 and 20 kids going to nationals every year, and we feel bad telling her we have 6, 7. But she writes, Mr. D'Angelo influenced my life more than he will ever know. It was his passion for marketing in DECA that helped me find my career path as a marketing teacher. By far, my happiest memory of him was 3 years ago at the International Conference in Salt Lake City. Not only was it my first conference as a teacher, but my students got to meet my marketing teachers. But Mr. D received his national award from DECA. There was never a person more deserving. Mr. D would do anything for his students, current and former. I can remember sitting in his class and former students popping in to say hello, and he always remembered their name, again, a couple of years ago. Joe is a true part of Badin High School, as it is only fitting that he is honored with this award. Molly Smith, who is now studying to be a marketing education teacher at Bowling Green State University, wrote, Mr. D'Angelo is one of the most passionate educators I have ever had the honor of learning from. His dedication to student achievement is incredible, and he has touched so many students' lives and with his bright spirit. Through countless hours working on projects and the numerous field trips to places all over the country, Mr. D made an impact on every marketing student's life. He is a true legend. And lastly, from Kate Fear Walton, I decided to run for Ohio DECA president. I had no idea that Mr. D planned to prep me using a variety of tricks, some of those unorthodox teaching methods that he has. The most difficult preparation included giving a speech in class while Mr. D jumped up and down, perhaps forgetting that his classroom was on the top floor. Then he proceeded to throw paper wads at me and encouraged the entire class to do the same. Pardon me. I had to restart the speech until I could make it through without acknowledging any distractions thrown at me. My classmates thought it was fun, and I likely had some dramatic reaction, which I've conveniently forgotten today. I can attest to that. Not the forgotten part, the dramatic reaction. So now every time I argue before an appellate court and questions are fired at me from the judges, I flash back to this situation. Mr. D'Angelo definitely taught me to remain composed, but I learned so much more without realizing it. Mr. D taught me how to work with others, to accomplish projects and goals, to compete, whether win or lose, to branch out, meet people who are different from me, to learn through traveling, to support local small businesses, and to help others in a time of need. I am forever grateful for all of this and all of these life lessons. A lot of you don't know, and even those that you work with, on a personal side, Joe is really humble. And truly, a lot of you won't believe this, he's an introvert. Yeah, I said it, he is. He is generous, and as Mrs. Helms reiterated today during the assembly, he hates the spotlight. And he does. I don't know how many times myself, his wife, and his son, I don't want this award. I don't deserve this award. There are other people that do. And on a personal note, for me, I wish all of you had the opportunity to work with your mentor and best friend for 33 years. With that, Joe D'Angelo.
the heck with this. God has been so good to me. You just don't know. It's true, my fraternity brothers and I picked a college. I had never heard of Miami. I never heard of Ohio. And that's a God's honest truth. When you're a New Yorker, your whole life is centered around New York. So we came out here to visit Miami, and we stopped at Ohio State. And I expected to see palm trees and sand. And the biggest joy was to be at the Ohio State University up on top of the stadium, because that was God. And then we came down to Miami, and I thought, oh my God, what a bunch of preppy people. And I felt, I didn't fit in. I was a fraternity brother back home. They transferred us out here. Sigma Chi brought our fraternity, took us in, and I go in there, and I'm this black hair, brown-eyed, olive-skinned kid with blonde hair, blue-eyed people, and it didn't take long to realize I didn't want to be there. But I stayed there because of the academics. I was blessed then to be able to student teach. And to me, the greatest honor is to have my mentor, Lou Hollinger, my student cooperating teacher who's here with his wife, Marta. He taught me 49 years ago. He taught me the value of caring for students. His family, and I don't know why, they adopted me. Maybe because Marta is Italian, and maybe because they just felt sorry for me. And then I wanted to go back. I was offered a job at Fairfield. I said, I can't take it because I'm going back to New York. I had a relative that was superintendent with Rockland County Schools, Mr. Brianti. He offered me a job, and I said, I can't do this. I want to do something on my own. So Lou set me up with an interview at Ross High School. I went there, got hired at Ross, and I looked out the window, and I saw pigs. And that is true. And that is true. So I went back home, and the next thing I know, I get this phone call from a priest and said, you have been hired at Badin High School. I had never heard of Badin High School. The only thing I knew is that when I was with Lou and Marta at Fairfield, they beat Fairfield 76-0. And you remember that, Coach? Yep. And I thought, God. So I came out for an interview. Lou and Marta picked me up. I came out for an interview, and unfortunately, I learned the most about being humble and what it is to be in a Catholic environment. My interview was on the day of the tragedy of the 5 students' funeral. And they had forgotten to call me and tell me that. And I pull up and I see those hearse in front of me, and I started crying because I didn't know anything. And then I kept thinking, oh my God, maybe they kill him. I mean, really, I was afraid of Badin. And then I found out, was seeing thousands of people come out paying homage to the first class of Badin. And little did I know that I would have the honor to teach with Greg Reniker, and whose brother was one of the victims. So I go back the next day, and then I go out, and I go in there, and this man comes out with a Hawaiian shirt on and black pants, and he says, I'm Frank Miller. Well, I'm a New Yorker. They drove around in cassocks. I didn't expect to see somebody like that. And he interviewed me. I signed a contract for $6,000. He asked this coach to take me on a tour of the school. Well, it's hard to believe, but I was a skinny little kid, and I looked at him, and I was scared stiff. He says, boy, that's exactly what he said. Boy, what do you want to see? And Monsignor Boyle from New York, and that's when I should have learned you don't trust an Irishman, said, the first thing you do, you ask to see the chapel. Now, I'm asking Coach Malone to take me to a chapel, and I don't have to tell you what he thought. And then he said to me, and what are you going to coach? Well, I had an ed psych teacher up in Miami who said to me, whatever you do, you don't coach. So I said, I'm not going to coach. So you know what? We got off at a good start. So I went back to New York, came home, came back here and started teaching. I was hired as the accounting teacher. Knew you can't trust an Italian. Frank Vitale decided not to leave. So they stuck me in a typing class without typewriters. And I swore to God that I would never teach typing in my life because I cheated and always looked at my keys. So I started teaching typing without typewriters, and I had a mentor, Sister Julia Marie Schutte, that everybody knows. How can you not love her? You know, I mean, she was phenomenal, and she says, we'll get you through this. And then Sister Vincent, I'll tell you, I just loved her. Everybody had to love Sister Vincent. She sat me down when I got there and made me listen to a cassette tape of a meeting I missed, and I was scared of her. I don't know if I was scared more of Terry Malone or Sister Vincent. But then I go in and I started teaching, and then Father Miller calls me in and says, we can't afford to pay you. You're single, and the best I can give you, and Terry will tell you, you started off at 33 or 36. He dropped my salary from $6,000 to $3,900. And just like that, the next year he told me I was still single. He was giving me a 1% cut because you had to pay the, the married teachers. Those of you who know me know that I was not Father Miller's favorite teacher. And when I got asked to receive this award, I thought, that poor man is turning over his grave. I mean, turning over, because he's the first man ever, I swear to God, he gave me demerits as a teacher for being out in the hallway. He told me that I was going to take kids to Kentucky down to Hazard with the Christian Appalachian Project. I had never heard of Kentucky. And I was from Westchester County, New York, and outside New York City, the most I ever saw was a block of green grass. And he sends me down there, and he says, you're going to do it. And you know what? I did it, and I learned. And I learned my faith. I learned what it was like to be a true Catholic. And I learned from people like Terry Malone, because even though I never had the ability to play football for him, I learned to admire him as a family man, even though he almost cost me my job. My brother Frank, who flew in to surprise me from Florida, came to visit me from Ashland College, and he and his best friend were hippies. And they come into my typing class with beads on and hair and all this. Next thing I know, you remember that? He comes down in my room, he says, get these bums out of this class. And here I'm going, and he's going, and I get in the car, and I said, I don't think I have a job. I don't think I have a job. Yep. So then Terry decided he needed a ride to school every day, and your mom, I just loved her dearly because she was one of the greatest ladies in the world. She said, please take him so we could use the car. I would take him. I would drive, and Father decided he wanted an alma mater. So we had people bringing in music. So he says to me, bring in something cool. So I brought in George of the Jungle. And he put it over the PA. Father came out of the office, said, who did this? And he said, Joe D'Angelo. So when Father Hemmerly came in, he took me in his office, says, here's your file. He says, I want to know how you can have an award for being one of the best teachers at Badin in the morning and get fired in the afternoon. And that is the truth. I had more fires than, led to there, and I said, oh my God. And then when he had when Father Wintermeyer left, he said, you're going to take over a variety show. For those of you who remember Father Wintermeyer, he was a legend. I mean, he was phenomenal. He did the best. And he said to me, you're doing variety show. And Mary Sue Wright was here, and those kids in that class hated me because I was taking over for the best teacher at Badin other than Terry Malone. I got that right, didn't I, Coach? Okay, and that was true. And then I asked him for help, that I didn't want that. With the help of my students and, I know Betty Schroff, who was a mentor to me, and I know those of you in the drill team, in gymnastics. but she taught us perfection. Father Miller taught me perfection. You know you had a great show or you did a nice job if Frank Miller said to you, "This is good." And then Frank Miller came up to me and said, "Why don't you go and teach for Hamilton?" Right, Coach Slinger? Right, we were two of his favorite. You know, you knew you were on your way out, but what he meant was, you know, what happened was he and Dr. Dickey, Lester Dickey, wanted to try something new. They had never had a career education program in a parochial school. And he says, "I don't know where this is going to get us. We all might be put in jail. We all might be thrown out, but we're going to try it." And we found out that Badin had to rent my classroom to Hamilton City for $1. And then I taught there, and then a few years later, he calls me in and he says, "They'd like to hire you as a teacher." But he didn't tell me that it meant a pay cut, because I had been at Badin 7 years and now he was going to drop me down to a first-year teacher at Hamilton. But you know what? My association with Hamilton City and Mr. Isgro, who was on the school board, and everybody here with Hamilton, they have been phenomenal to Badin High School. What a relationship. We have endured the test of time. We have endured an Ohio State Supreme Court judgment that said we can stay. And you know what? I am lucky because I have been taught 3 things in my life I've learned from people at Badin. Faith, what it is to be a good Catholic or good in your individual faith. Family, how important it is to you to have the love of family. And third, great friends. And you know, that is more important to me than anything in the whole world. And to know that I've had the ability and love, like Terry has, to be able to teach people all these years, and teach a number of them are being honored, like John. I am so proud of him because he's just one great young man. And to be able to have taught Tim McCabe, who became my mentors. By the way, I was his babysitter in East Hamilton, Terry. His mother, or her best friend, had me try to fix up with one of the Nictine girls, and we had to babysit one night. So I became in East Hamilton for a day or whatever. Little did I know I was going to end up being his teacher and work with him. I couldn't have made it so far long without him. And to have Brian as a principal, and Frank Margello. Here's another story. 20 years ago, Frank comes to teach, become principal at Badin, vice principal, and he's sitting next to Tim. He said, "What'd you do this summer, Tim?" He says, "I went to New York with Joe." He goes, "New York? I'm from New York." He said, "Where'd you go?" I said, "To White Plains." He says, "Oh, I'm from Elmsford." And then he said, "We ended up going to school together. We ended up taking accordion together." He was better than me because they called him the accordion king or something. They put him in the front row and they put me in the back row. But I'm blessed because the circle came around. And then I was blessed when I went into Father Miller and I said, "Father, my wife Kathy and I would love to get married at St. Mary's." And he says, "I would like this to be a gift for your wife." It wasn't a gift to me. It was a gift to my wife. And then he said, "And I have to be the lead celebrant, the main celebrant." I didn't even want him there. But honestly, I kid about that because he has taught me what it is to be a perfectionist. I'm far from a perfectionist, but I know what it is to be. Love what you do. I've learned that from people like Terry. I've learned, like, I know the Oso family, and I don't know if Tina's here. Tina Oso, she couldn't make it. Okay, but Tina goes to start Shared Harvest with her brother Chuck. That's the kind of people that go through Badin. Dr. Fear, you're an inspiration because when I heard about what you did, when you really went west, you know, I didn't live too far from Chappaqua, and Horace Greeley said, "Go west, young man." I went west of Ohio. You went really west. And what he did was great. I want to thank all of you for the love that you've showed me, and probably my greatest accomplishment in my life is my son Joe, that I've had the right to teach him and to be with you. You don't get an award for something you love. And Mr. Pendergast, Brian, the next time everyone asks me how many more years I'm going to stay, I'm adding a year. So I want you to know, they keep saying, Joe, when are you leaving? You know, and I see boxes outside my classroom. But thank you. That has been such an honor to work with people like you. And God bless all of you. And every day in my class, we end with a prayer. And as I was taught, Jesus, Son of the living God, have mercy on us, for we are sinners, and leave us with a happy heart. Thank you, and God bless.
In case you weren't counting, the class of 2015 is Badin's 49th graduating class, and Joe D'Angelo has taught at Badin for 48 of those 49 years. Joe. You know, I was mentioning some of the distinguished guests that are here tonight. There's one individual who was always nothing but nice to me when I was a Cub reporter, and he's a Hamilton Catholic grad, and every time we drive down High Street and get down High Street in a timely fashion, I think about him and I thank him, the former city manager of Hamilton, Mr. Jack Kirsch. Thank you, Jack. Now for the Alumni Awards. The Distinguished Alumni Achievement Award recognizes the outstanding personal or professional accomplishments of an alumnus of Badin, Hamilton Catholic, or Notre Dame high schools. Our first recipient traveled from the Southern Hemisphere to join us tonight. We were afraid we were just going to have her on tape, and videographer Mike Kurtz and I had the pleasure of speaking with her this summer, but she's still here because she did not have to return to Brazil quite yet. So it's great to have her with us. Receiving the first Distinguished Alumni Achievement Award is Sister Joanne Depwig. Here to introduce Sister Joe. Here to introduce Sister Joe is Badin board member, Mrs. Carla Fear.
Before I start my introduction, if I could just veer from the program for a minute and give Kelly Kurtz so much credit for this event tonight. She has worked so hard on this. She saw a vision. She put a great committee together. So I think that we should give Kelly a round of applause. Good job. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. It gives me great pride to be here this evening to introduce Sister Joanne Debwick. As evidenced by her bio, she's most deserving of this distinguished award in recognition of her service to God. Upon finding out that Sister Joe was one of the recipients, and then finding out that she was coming to Hamilton, my heart just leapt because Sister Joe has been a legend in our family. She was dear friends with my mother, and she was in my mom's wedding, and I can't tell you the last time that I saw her, but I did get to talk to her over the summer, and hugging her was like hugging my mom again. So it means a lot to me that I can be here to introduce her like this. So in preparing for this occasion, I got online and read a little bit more about her. She's been described as fit and fast-talking, with a thoroughly modern point of view, which I think the Catholic Church can use, and one that shows no sign of slowing down. So I think that's another great thing. It also says that she creates relationships with people, and relationships, she says, gets people to say yes to help one another. Her deep commitment to building relationships has led her to many communities around the world. It's crystal clear she is true to the values and principles of a Christian life, and she lives her life from her authentic self. serving God through serving others. It's truly my honor to have been given the opportunity to introduce Sister Jo Depwick.
I hope I can get through this, because when I see Carla, it's Maryland all over. And any of us here who went to Notre Dame High School and had the joy to be with Maryland sees her present today in Carla. And so it was an honor when I saw that Carla was presenting me to all of you. I am humbled to be here tonight to receive this award. There are many, many alumni of Notre Dame, Hamilton Catholic, and now Badin, who probably deserve it much more than I do. But I am humbled to receive it in the name of all of you. But I have to say something to Terry Malone before I go any further. He and all the guys at Hamilton Catholic did what they did because of all of us at Notre Dame. Yeah, Terry, I give you a big hug anyway. I owe this moment, first of all, to my parents, Leonard and Julia Depwick, who gave me life, who gave me character training, but they also gave me my religious values. To my 9 brothers and sisters, most of them are in the other world today with God, but with my sister, especially my sister Ruth and Carol. Marge could not be here, but Ruth and Carol are with us tonight. And just put your hand up, Ruth and Carol, because some of you may remember them from your high school days, if you're old enough. And of course, to my colleagues from Notre Dame and Hamilton Catholic, we had lots of fun together, and we had our serious moments together. I just want you to know that we waited for the boys from Hamilton Catholic to come past Notre Dame, and we were still in school. But some of us were at music. We were practicing. Remember, Jeannie? We were practicing, and when the boys came, we opened the windows and did our practicing out the window. But those are the joys that we had. But we also had hard moments and sad moments. And so those were another moments that we shared. And finally, to my own religious sisters of Notre Dame, with whom I share my life today, be it here in Brazil or here in the United States. They are a great group of women, and I ask them to stand up tonight. They are here sharing this honor with me. Would you please stand? And of course, I cannot forget all of you here at Badin. You were not part of the marches from the field, athletic field, to Hamilton Catholic when we won, and you were not a part of when we lost. But you are tonight, you organized this wonderful meeting and wonderful evening, and I also want to thank you all. And I found out that Kelly, I was almost her aunt, would you believe it? And we laugh about it, but those are the joys. Those are the wonderful things of coming from Hamilton. And so I want to share something. I was meditating the other morning on a reading from Luke, in which it was the gospel that said the sower went out to sow the seed. And some of those seeds fell on good ground. And the seeds grew, and he produced much fruit. And so I say to all of us here tonight, let's go forth and let's produce good fruits. Let's produce good works. Let's try to make this a better world with less violence. And for not only for us, but for future generations. And in closing, I say, long live wonderful memories of Notre Dame High School. Long live wonderful memories of Hamilton Catholic High. And now I say, long live wonderful memories from all of you who have gone through this wonderful school of Badin. And together, Notre Dame, Hamilton Catholic, and Badin, we will continue to live the same gospel spirit that all of us were taught and are being taught today. Thank you very much.
The next distinguished Alumni Achievement Award recipients comes to us from the great state of Montana. Dr. Daniel Fear will be introduced by his brother, Dr. Ken Fear.
Reverend Fathers, Principal Brian, today's honorees, staff and teachers at Badin, my friends and my family. I'd like to introduce my younger brother, Dan. He is the son of Lucian and Ursula Fear, the youngest of 3 boys. Dan graduated from Hamilton Catholic in 1958. He received his BS in pre-dentistry from the University of Dayton. Then he graduated from Ohio State Dental School, and then went back to Ohio State Dental School to graduate with a degree in orthodontics. As a young dentist, he moved to Browning, Montana in 1966 to serve as a dentist with a public health service on the Indian reservation of the Blackfeet. After orthodontic school, he returned to the Big Sky Country in 1972 and opened his practice in Helena, Montana. From 1972 until when he left his practice in 2010, Blackfeet children were driven from Browning to Helena once a month to receive free orthodontic treatment. Over the years, he treated 3 generations of some of the Indian families. He is married to his high school sweetheart, Mary Ann Robinson Fear, who is a graduate of 1958 from Notre Dame High School. He is the proud parents of 2 daughters, Melinda Fear Lee, Kathleen Fear Length, 2 son-in-laws, 3 grandchildren. I beat him there. I have 38 grandchildren. After his family and orthodontics, his greatest love is the great outdoors of Helena, Montana. I want to introduce my youngest brother, Dan Fear.
Thanks, Ken. Thank you very much for this honor. Receiving this Alumni Achievement Award is an honor for me and a humbling experience. To be especially honored with this elite group tonight that
I'm participating in. I want to especially thank my parents, Luke and Ursfear, for giving me the opportunity to study all those years after high school. They were the first ones from whom I learned about giving to others. And I want to thank my wife of 50 years for being the support all my endeavors, especially my days away hunting in the mountains and fishing in the oceans. I want to thank the Marianists who taught me during my years at Catholic High School. They had a profound influence on me as my teachers, both in preparing me for college and then dental and orthodontic school. They enabled me to personally experience the meaning of service to others. The Marianist community had much influence on many members of my family. My two brothers-in-law, many cousins, were all graduates of Hamilton Catholic. We are grateful that the Marianist philosophy and tradition that has been embedded in us. The Marianist faith and influence transformed me from a very, very rebellious teenager to a professional. I believe, as the Marianists believe, that supporting one another in community enriches our faith and strengthens us personally. I believe we can best measure our success by what we accomplish in our service to others. This belief has always been with me after being admonished by Father Landolfi when he said, "Money is not the measure of success for a man or woman. It is the things we accomplish not by spending money, but by service to others, and that success is measured." I feel that the Marianist sense of humanity and community that I experienced as a high school student and as a college student at UD and as an alumnus have been a tremendous influence in my life. To quote the Marianist, we are always learning about humanity. Our passion for learning about humanity springs from a central tenet of our Catholic faith. I am also grateful of this underlying influence that led me to become very involved with the Blackfeet Nation at a special level of sharing and community. Working with the Blackfeet Indians was an honor and a privilege. I thank the Blackfeet tribal members for this privilege. I would especially like to thank Chief Earl Oldperson, Joe Bear Medicine, George Heavy Runner, Leroy Skunk Cap, Melvin Running Wolf, Jim Spotted Eagle, Mike Swims Under, and especially Gary Schilt. Those names were not made up. Thank you very much for this honor, and Terry, appreciate you being my coach many years ago, and we haven't talked much since then. Today was my first day back in Badin High School since I graduated. I was really impressed with the students and the quality of students. I think they're doing a great job, and thank you very much for this honor.
The Distinguished Young Alumni Achievement Award recognizes the early accomplishments of an outstanding Badin alumnus. Our first recipient of the Distinguished Young Alumni Achievement Award has experienced tremendous success in his young career. And you know, these two young men, one is going to introduce the other. They're top shelf entrepreneurs in what is one of the toughest businesses you can think of, the restaurant business, and they're knocking it out. So here to introduce John Lonnie is his brother and business partner, Joe Lonnie.
All right, it's great to be here this evening, and I just wanted to say that the honorees and the event have just been extremely impressive. I didn't go to Badin, but it's a very impressive group and a great event you guys have put on here. So congratulations on all that, and congratulations to all the other honorees. I'm here to introduce the youngest honoree this evening, my brother John. And when you're growing up, you never really know how your sibling's going to turn out. You don't really even think about it. They're just your brother or your sister or something like that. But when John started, about the time John started going to Badin, it became apparent to me that he had what it took to become a high achiever. Throughout his career at Badin, he played on the varsity tennis team. He was #1 men's player all 4 years. He was active in the student council. He had a ton of friends. He made great grades. And the base that he got at Badin really allowed him to move forward. He continued on to Cornell University, where he enrolled in the School for Hotel and Restaurant Management. He did exceedingly well there. He had, great grades, again, tons of friends, great fraternity, and he was able to get some wonderful internships. One of those was with a company called Let Us Entertain You in Chicago. Let Us Entertain You is probably the premier restaurant operation and development company in the whole country. He knocked it out of the park there, did a phenomenal job, went back to Cornell, graduated, and was, on graduation, asked to come back by the chief operating officer of Let Us Entertain You to help him start a new restaurant venture that he was starting. So John went back to Chicago, got a ton of experience there, worked really hard, and at the time in 2004 that John and I decided to start Corrido, he came back. He took the experience that he had gained in Chicago and drew on all of the experience that we had growing up just working in and around our family restaurants. And, we all got together and started Corrido. Corrido now has 19 locations in 6 states. And since then, we've also started the Bakersfield chain of restaurants and bars. There are 4 locations with 2 more that are currently under construction. We founded the So High grilled sandwiches concept in Oxford on High Street. We also recently, about 9 months ago, opened the Eagle. It's a fried chicken restaurant in Over the Rhine, and it was immediately voted as Cincinnati Magazine's one of the best new restaurants of the year. So we're really proud of that. John's really proud of that. And so with all this going on, the one question that I continue to get over and over again is, what is it like to work with your brother? And I usually, rather than explaining things, just lie and say, it's great. We never argue. It's fantastic. But all kidding aside, any great partnership has its ups and downs, and certainly when you're working with your brother, you're gonna, butt heads every once in a while. But all along, every day, I know in my heart that without the hard work, the dedication, the forward thinking, and just the commitment that John brought to the situation, that there is no way we could have achieved the level of success that we've been so lucky to achieve. So without further ado, it's my great pleasure to introduce my brother, my business partner, and my friend, John.
See, this is a sign of the times here. This is, my speech is written on my iPhone. All right. Wow, well, thank you, Joe. I really appreciate that introduction. Anytime you give your brother an open forum to just let loose and say whatever he wants to say about his little brother, can be a pretty risky proposition. So thanks for taking it easy on me and not embarrassing me completely. I appreciate that. I'd first like to say that I am absolutely humbled and honored to have been inducted in this Badin Hall of Honor. The other inductees tonight are truly legendary in my mind, and I'm extremely grateful to even be mentioned alongside of them. So thank you so much. I'm just astounded that I've been given this opportunity and this privilege and this award, and it's truly an honor. Mr. Fearman has been my next door neighbor for pretty much my entire life. So I know Frank really well. I guess I can call him Frank now, which is kind of weird. I've always admired Frank as a family man, as a philanthropist in the community, and most certainly as a business person. He's truly an exceptional person. I was lucky enough to have Mr. Malone as one of my high school teachers, and one of the greatest high school football coaches of all time, amongst many other accolades, but certainly a legend in the state of Ohio and throughout the country in terms of high school football coaching. And then, of course, another honoree tonight, Mr. D'Angelo, who has a special place in my heart. Mr. D really first introduced me to marketing. I still remember sophomore year, I go into his class, and I just kind of wanted to get his take on what marketing was. And I said, Mr. D, what exactly is marketing? And he said very, very succinctly, John, it's very simple. Marketing is everything. And there's nothing else. It's everything. It's everything you do. And I kind of let that soak in for a while. And, at first I was just like, okay, but I kind of let that soak in for a while. And I kind of have taken that pearl of wisdom with me throughout my business ventures. How you brand yourself, how you brand your company, how your customers perceive your brand is extremely important in the success of your business, especially in the restaurant business. Every bolt, every material you use, everything you touch, everything you present to the guest is a perception and a reflection of your brand. And that's all. That is marketing. That is branding. So, Mr. D, thanks for that memory, and I have taken that with me. Next, I really want to thank the entire Badin community and any and all who were involved in nominating me for this terrific award. To be part of this distinguished event and soon-to-be distinguished tradition at Badin in this inaugural class is truly an honor and a privilege. So I thank you, Kelly, and the rest of the alumni committee, and whomever was involved in selecting me, a taco and burrito slinger, for honoring me. I really can't thank you enough. So oftentimes, people reflect on what's the best time of your life. And I honestly say all the time, the best time I ever had in my life, thus far, and I'm 33, so I'm not that old, but was at Badin High School. A lot of kids my age and a lot of people say college. Totally, definitely college was way better than high school. For me, high school was the best time of my life. Now, maybe it was because my parents left town often and I had a lot of great parties, but that's beside the point. No. For me, having an education and the guidance that a Badin experience afforded me is something I truly valued. Badin gave me a robust foundation of knowledge and values and faith. And something that I've really observed about Badin is that they just have good kids. And it sounds silly to say, or it sounds very simplistic to say, but it's the truth. The kids are just good kids. And it's something I always noticed amongst Badin kids and other high schools. There's just this wholesome nature that you often find in a Badin student that you don't find at other schools. And quite frankly, Joe and I look for that in people we hire. We look for that wholesome nature. I don't need the hottest bartender around to be behind my bar. I need somebody that's truly hospitable, that's truly nice, and that derives pleasure out of making other people happy. And that's what we call the hospitality gene. And if they have the hospitality gene, that's what we're looking for. And for me, I feel like the Badin community and Badin kids have that hospitality gene, really doing good for others. And we would hire Badin kids all day long. So, I'm proud to be a part of that Badin community. And so thank you again, Badin and everybody in this community for providing me with a lifetime of good memories. I also want to thank my family who is here with me tonight, my family and friends, who have been with me and supported me throughout the years. I have with me tonight people from both sides of my family, aunts, uncles, cousins, who have positively impacted me in a countless number of ways. My Uncle Craig over there, you know, I still haven't beat him in tennis, and it drives me nuts, but I'll get there one day. You know, Katie, the job that Joe mentioned at Let Us Entertain You, Joe's wife Katie got me that job, that internship, so I thank her for that, that opportunity. She was working at Let Us at the time, and I really learned a lot at that company. And then I've got a great group of buddies here with me tonight. Who have added so much value to my life. I have a lifelong buddy here who, you know, I've known my entire life, Brett Jackson, and then I've met another great group of guys who are from Cincinnati that we've just had a tremendous time together for the last 4 or 5 years, and they've really added a lot of value to my life, so I truly appreciate that. We all really push each other to be better individuals, better at business, better at just, you know, serving our communities. And so that's something that's really special to me. Brett definitely helped me foster, Brett Jackson, who I've known my whole life, definitely helped me foster my entrepreneurial spirit. Yeah, I grew up living on a golf course, and mom and dad, you know, they'd give me money when I needed it, but sometimes they'd cut me off and say, no, you're not getting any money. And so I'd say, okay, no problem. I'm going to go sell lemonade at the outside. So Brett and I sold 50-cent lemonades and 25-cent golf balls on the 7th hole of Potters for years and years and years. And at 25 cents and 50 cents, you know, it's a long, tough road to get up to anything meaningful. But if anybody can beat $75 in one day, you just let me know, because that is our record, $75 in a day. And Mom was hustling that day for sure. She kept making lemonade, and Mom, come on, go get more. You know, we'd get her and she'd run down, and you know, she'd be hustling the lemonade down. So, you know, thanks, Mom, for that. And lastly, I want to thank 3 people. And those are the 3 people that are in my immediate family: my brother, my mother, and my father. None of my success would be possible without their help and support. As you've heard, my brother is my business partner, and you know, so it goes without saying that we share all of these successes together, and that is really something cool and really something special. And just to show you how we're unique in a lot of ways, but we're also extremely similar in many ways. And because I have written in my speech here, people always ask me, how is it working with your brother? And he had the same thing, or at least he was thinking the same thing. So I can tell you from my experience, the pros far outweigh the cons. And like Joe said, you know, you can wake up every day knowing that you trust this person, that this person's on your side, knowing that there's a common goal, knowing that you need to get there together. And we definitely have a healthy business relationship. Of course, always don't see eye to eye, but I think those disputes always bring out better results and the best in the restaurants that we create. So it's honestly just hard to believe that after 7 or 8 years of hard work, we now have 27 restaurants under our belt and over 400 employees. So, I'm really proud to say that we've created that many jobs. So 400 employees is great, and we're continuing to grow. And so I definitely could not have done this alone. It's a great partnership we have, and I value it tremendously. And we were lucky enough to grow up in a home with 2 of the best parents anybody could ask for. My mother was exceptional. She was basically by default just one of the guys. She grew up with 2 boys and a pretty tenacious business person himself, my dad. And she raised us the right way. She taught us to respect our elders, to be humble, to be kind to others, to treat others the way that you would want to be treated. She also taught me a great sense of adventure and was always a solid voice of reason in the house and really a very steady homemaker and somebody that provided a very stable home life for Joe and I. And I just really value everything that she's done for me. So thanks, Mom. My father has probably been my single greatest mentor in my life. It's a daily process. Sometimes the mentoring is about 7 to 10 times a day, but that's okay. Oftentimes, Joe and I will be in meetings. My phone will be on the desk here. Joe's phone will be on the desk here, and my phone. Who's that? No, it's Dad. Ignore. Okay. Then the next. His phone will blow up. It's like, is this guy ever going to stop calling us? So, in this that happens on a weekly basis. That's not like it happens every once in a blue moon. So, he has taught me more valuable lessons in business and in life than I think any educational program could provide me with. So I certainly have had a phenomenal education at Badin and a phenomenal education in college, but he certainly has taught me so much. He's also provided us with some financial support to start our businesses, and he's shown me throughout my childhood and throughout my adult life what it really takes to run a successful business, what it really takes to make others really want to work for you and inspire that passion in people to be motivated to get up and work every day, the tenacity, the persistence, the effort required to make it happen. Oftentimes Saturdays with Dad were not, let's go out. Even though I was involved in a variety of sports, I played baseball, basketball, tennis was my main sport. I swam as a younger kid. I did a lot of things. But Saturdays with Dad were, let's go check on the stores. They were on his stores. When we were kids, he had some stores, they weren't, let's toss the ball in the front yard. So, he taught me to never be afraid to chase your dreams. As an entrepreneur, you miss 100% of the chances you don't take. So, I've learned from him to take chances and to dive in and trust your intuition, and good things can happen. They definitely can. And also coming from a deeply rooted Italian family on my dad's side, he gave me a real great sense of passion and a great respect for family, and assuring me that you'll always have your family when nothing else is there. So thus, I thank all of you, my immediate family again, Joe, Dad, Mom. Love you guys. And Mom and Dad, I appreciate you giving me the guidance I needed, but then also allowing me to make choices for myself and to learn and grow from those choices. I was in 8th grade, and I was a student at St. Peter and Chains, and Mom and Dad allowed me to make my own decisions, which I like I said, I really appreciated. And I was really having a hard time deciding where to go to high school. And so I was choosing between St. X, where Joe was a senior, in Badin. And I really didn't know what to do. I was really torn. And I guess I procrastinated a little bit on that decision. So it really came down to the wire. I went to St. X the first day of school, freshman year, with my brother. So I was enrolled in St. X and enrolled in Badin. I went to St. X my first day, freshman year, go through school, had a fine day. It was nothing special. Had a bunch of homework, but other than that, it was fine. That night, there happened to be a Badin co-ed dance at Badin for the freshmen. And I had a great time at the dance and didn't get much homework done from my first day at St. X. And so the next morning, I wake up, and Joe and Dad and Mom are all kind of like, well, John, what are you doing? You got to get up. I mean, you going to school or what? I thought you decided you're going to St. X. And I just kind of lifted my head up and I said, no, I'm going to Badin. So, yeah. And it turns out it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. So thank you very much. I really appreciate this again. And thank you.
The final Distinguished Alumni Achievement Award of the night goes to a man who truly bleeds green. All of us at Badin High School appreciate him and think about him and his family every day when we walk into the Fearman Family Activity Center. Here to introduce Frank Fearman is his wife, Mrs. Joanne Fearman.
I caught Coach Malone's eye, and now this is it. I'm going to laugh. The one thing they did not touch on with Coach Malone is he was also a driving instructor. He was mine. I just got my car back because backing out of the garage about 3 weeks ago, the car came out, but the front bumper stayed in. This is the third time my car has lost its front bumper in the garage. So thank you, Terry, very, very much for never using that brake. Frank likes it. Okay, my name is Joanne LaPera Fearman. I want to acknowledge two of the most important men in my life, my dad, Frank LaPera Jr., and my husband, Frank Fearman Jr. Just a quick comment. My mom and dad, like so many, were on the committee to make Badin High School happen. They went door to door back in the 60s asking people for donations for the private high school that would combine Notre Dame and Hamilton Catholic. And Frank and I continued that path. Can I get my gum out? I'm a professional speaker also. Now for our honoree. For 37 wonderful and exciting years, I have been married to Frank. I tell people that we met at Badin, but the fact is Frank was a very outgoing, popular senior, and I was a very shy freshman. Although we would cross paths on occasion in the halls, he rarely ever acknowledged my existence. Sorry, things never change. But, oh, that's the truth. But as we have always told our children, perseverance pays off. And after graduating from high school and college, we crossed paths again. This time, he wised up and took notice. We love sharing in all three of our children's activities at Badin. I want to wish a shout out to all three kids, Matt, Andy, and Lindsay, who are here tonight, and their spouses. After our youngest had graduated, Frank and I decided we wanted to do something that would have a long-lasting effect on the Badin community. As you all know, we helped in the construction of what is known today as the Fearman Family Activity Center. This center has meant so much to Frank. It gives us both great pleasure in the many activities that place has there. I didn't say it right. I wrote it. Frank and I talk about the day when we will be able to watch our grandchildren participate in activities there. This center has given Frank much pleasure, and he is so deserving of this award. Frank has never been the type of person who cared about any kind of recognition. But I know how special tonight's award is to him. So without further delay, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you the love of my life, Frank Fearman.
It's the first time I've never had to lower a microphone after I spoke after somebody. Before I begin, I wanted to talk a little bit about this afternoon. As Brian mentioned, we were invited as part of these activities to go to Badin to an all-school assembly, and Brian spoke a little bit about what was going to happen. The thing that struck me was I had gone to one of these assemblies probably 5 or 6 years ago, and when you go to them, they take out one side of the bleachers. Well, back then, the bleachers were maybe half full, 3/4 at most of students. Today, when we went, the entire section was filled with students. And it just shows you the path that Badin has taken over the last few years. They are on a road that is truly proven to be very successful. And I give great commendations to Brian, the staff, and all the people of Hamilton who have made that happen. It is a pleasure to be here, and I would like to recognize the other recipients, especially Sister. When you dedicate all the years of your life to a missionary activity, it's truly remarkable. What we do, obviously we do as a business, but what you do strictly out of love for Christ, and I truly admire that. The Oso family we've known my entire life. I went to grade school with Chuck, and they are a tremendous family, and I see John sitting over there, and I know how much they have meant to the Badin community. John mentioned that we have been next door neighbors to the Lonnies for probably over 20 years. And had you told me tonight that John would be standing up here, or Joe, or Matt, Andy, or Lindsay would be the success stories that they are today, I would never have believed that. But kids do grow up. So those of you that do have some young ones, be patient. It will happen. But we are extremely proud of our 3 children, and I know Nancy and Nick are extremely proud of Joe and John. One quick story. As John mentioned, they have a tremendously successful restaurant chain, Bakersfield being one of them. A few weeks ago, Joanna and I decided we wanted to go down to Bakersfield, and as usual, there was a substantial crowd there. So I said, Joanna, I'll go up front. So I go up, and the little girl is sitting there, and I said, I'm a friend of Nick Lonnie. He's my next door neighbor and Joe's dad. She goes, oh, that's great. What's your name? She goes, Frank. He goes, okay. And she gives me one of those little things that go off. And I said, well, how long do you think it'll be? She goes, 45 minutes to an hour. And I said, well, thank you. So I go back and I tell Joanne, she said, you should have used Nancy and not Nick. When Badin was under construction back in 1966, my dad was instrumental in that. He was on the committee that was part of the procedure to make sure things were being accomplished the way that they should be. And I remember one Sunday afternoon that he asked my brother Bob and I if we wanted to ride over and take a look at the building that was still being constructed. So we were all excited and said, yeah, we would love to do that. So I can remember we lived in the North End, and I don't think up till that point I'd ever even crossed the river. So I was pretty excited, and we're driving up New London Road, and we're going a ways, and all of a sudden I look to my left and I see this big green field, and I asked my dad, I said, what's that? He goes, that's a golf course. I said, oh, that's pretty neat. And then all of a sudden I saw Badin. And to me, it was one of the most beautiful things I'd ever witnessed in my life. Up to that point, we had lived on 6th Street. Our backyard was the Hamilton Catholic playground, if you want to call it that. We had that structure, and across the street we had the old Hamilton High School, which later became Harding. Those were the only 2 buildings I had ever seen, and I just thought Badin was the most beautiful place I'd ever witnessed. And I immediately fell in love with the place. And to this day, I still feel that same way. People will ask me time and time again, why do you have this infatuation with Badin? What's so special about it? Well, I think you've heard a lot of it tonight from the other speakers. From my standpoint, it goes a little bit beyond that. I have witnessed firsthand situations that have occurred over the years, actually from day one. Joe spoke upon the tragedy that took place the very first years of Badin's existence. You saw the Badin community come together and help each other out. And this has gone on for 48, 49 years. They're a family. And that's what Badin is to me. It's an extension of our family and, in my opinion, the Hamilton community family. There are so many other examples that time doesn't permit me to go over them tonight, but you see it almost on a weekly basis. Badin is much more than a building. It's much more than just the bricks and the mortar that we helped build. And I want to emphasize something here that I think is very important. We receive a lot of credit for that activity center. But believe me, there were a lot of people who were very committed and dedicated to make sure that that center became a reality. And they pulled together, they bonded together, and it is the place that it is today. And if I would have one thing on my bucket list, it would be that God graces us that someday Joanne and I can go over there and watch our grandchildren participate in some sort of activity. I'm looking forward to that day more than anything. I don't usually get very excited over awards, as people work can attest to. I usually get them, and I don't know where a lot of them are even, but I can promise you this award tonight means more to me than anything I have ever received. It will be very special. I promise you I won't throw it away. It will be on our shelf someplace at work. And I think it's a great, great thing that Kelly and her group has established, and I can see it just growing. This crowd tonight kind of blew me away. I didn't expect it. But I think that as you go forward, please continue it. There are a lot of people, probably even more worthy than myself for sure, and I hope that you continue to recognize them as time goes on. I know it's late. I promised I wouldn't speak long, so thank you for coming, and have an enjoyable evening. Thank you.
You know, one night I was in Bob's in Lindenwold, the bar right down from St. Anne's, and Frank came in with Bob Turner and Bobby Schuster, and it was nice to see them. And so I'm a columnist for the Journal News, and I put that little note in my column. Hey, great to see Frank Fairman and Bob Turner and Bobby Schuster at Bob's in Lindenwold. Next time I see Frank, I say, Dirk, what are you doing? Joanne's not happy that I'm at Bob's in Lindenwold and you're putting it in the paper. Well, what a great night tonight. And thanks to all of you for being here. To wrap it up tonight, you've heard from her, you've seen her, you've heard about her from Carla Fear, and really the woman who was the vision behind the Hall of Honor. It's my pleasure to introduce my boss once again, Mrs. Kelly Kurtz.
On behalf of the entire Badin family, congratulations again to tonight's honorees. It's been my sincere pleasure to have an opportunity to get to know those of you I didn't know, and to honor you this evening. You have certainly set a high bar for future recipients. In order to continue to recognize more outstanding members of the Badin family, we need your help. Please use the nomination form in tonight's program to nominate other deserving alumni, faculty and staff, and members of the extended Badin family. It certainly takes a village to produce an event like tonight. And at this time, I'd like to thank the Hall of Honor Committee. If you would all please stand when I call your name. Larry Fear, Mary Reimer, Jason Crank, Karen Mueller, and Denise Kuhl. Thank you all for your help on our first Hall of Honor. Obviously, it was a big hit, so you don't get off the hook next year. I'm sorry to tell you that. I'd also like to give special thanks to the Badin administrative team and Badin faculty and staff for their support of tonight's events. And last but not least, many thanks to my teammates in the Badin Advancement Office. Patty Gray, Dirk Allen, Angie Gray, and our newest member, Kim Graham, our new Alumni Relations Director. You guys make it a pleasure to come to work every day. Thank you all for your support and your tireless work to put Badin's best foot forward. And I want to thank you all for such a great evening. This truly has been a wonderful event and far better than anything I could have imagined. I wish you safe travels, and I hope to see you again next year. Thank you.